Welcome to Behind the ABA Talk podcast, where we have heart-to-heart conversations with ABA experts, thought leaders, and change makers. Each episode unpacks the stories, insights, and behind-the-scenes realities that shaped our experts' professional journeys. I'm your host, Lisa Gurdon, founder of Ellis Gurdon Consulting, and I am thrilled to partner with Behavior Life co-founder and WIBA executive director Janet Lund to launch a special podcast series highlighting some of the amazing speakers and innovative talks that will be shared at the upcoming Women Behaving Boldly conference. Hi, Janet.
Oh, hi, Lisa. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for partnering with us and doing this. It's just been so much
Absolutely.
fun, and I'm so excited for our guest today.
Yes, amazing. We are going to introduce our guest shortly, but before we do, can you tell us about WIBA and the Women Behaving Boldly conference?
I would love to. So, WIBA stands for Women in Behavior Analysis, and it's an annual conference that happens every July. And the mission of WIBA is to empower, celebrate, and mentor women in behavior analysis. And the conference in January is called Women Behaving Boldly. And it is a virtual conference, unlike our annual in person conference. And the reason we did the virtual conference is we felt like just once a year with our community wasn't enough. And so we tried to find a way that we could, as the WEBA community, pull together. And that's sort of the genesis of Women Behaving Boldly, the idea of let's do another conference, but this one's virtual. And the neat thing about this virtual conference is it affords us the opportunity to have invitation only speakers. So, obviously, at our annual convention or conference, we have some invited speakers, and then we do open call for papers for other people who might want to present. But at the Women Behaving Boldly virtual conference that's happening this January, it's all invite only. So we have 22 spectacular behavior analysts that are presenting on topics that our advisory board and our conference committee felt like these are the people out there doing such great, bold, innovative work in behavior analysis that we really wanted our community to learn and hear and get to know some of these incredible humans. So we have 21 women and one man presenting this year. Dr. Bruce Tenor is our male speaker. He's on our advisory board committee. And then the other 21 are just these rock star behavior analysts. And one of them is you, Lisa. I want to just call out you. You're one of our
Thank you.
invited speakers, which thank you for this partnership with me over
Thank
that.
you.
And then our other is Dr. Sarah Lichtenberger, that I know you'll introduce in just a minute. But we're so excited about this conference. And so I hope people will consider joining. You can find out more information at thewiba.com. And WIBA is WIBA. You can register for the conference there. The conference is $99. And again, we have 22 speakers and it's going to be streamed. So if you can't join us live, you can watch the recordings later and you just don't want to miss it. So I'm so
I
excited.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And having spoken to several of the speakers at the conference, I am over the moon excited to start the new year with this conference. And for those of you, our listeners who are listening to this podcast, at the end of the podcast, we will share a discount code that you can use for a further discount on top of an already very good cost for this amazing conference that you get to have the opportunity to earn 22 CEUs. So thank you, Janet, for being here. And I want to thank our special guest today, Dr. Sarah Lichtenberger. Sarah earned a bachelor's degree in English and psychology from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and a master's and PhD in behavior analysis from Western Michigan University. She has 10 years of clinical experience, specifically with a focus on early intervention and severe interfering behavior. Sarah has held positions as senior clinician at Trumpet Behavior Health, as the Director of Clinical Standards at Verbal Beginnings, and as the Ethics Education Manager and Assistant Director of Ethics at the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. And she is currently a Senior Account Manager for Behavior Live. And Sarah and I have worked together throughout the years um, in the context of my CE program. And Sarah is amazing. And at the
Amazing. She's amazing.
Amazing. At the Women Behaving Boldly conference, Dr. Lichtenberger will explore how self compassion and intentional ethical practice help behavior analysts lead with humility and grace. Through practical examples and prompts for daily practices, she will help fellow behavior analysts reframe mistakes as opportunities to strengthen integrity and build teams where people can learn openly and ethically together. Oh my gosh, what an amazing topic. I cannot wait to learn about it. And welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. And yeah,
Yay!
I'm excited to be here and chat with both of you.
Yay, wonderful, wonderful. So, I guess let's start by hearing about your professional journey. It is so interesting to me to see your clinical, to hear more about how your clinical work led you to work, for the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, and then on to Behavior Live. It is such an interesting career path, and please share how that all went down.
For sure. Yeah. So I think that's the thing we all love about behavior analysis, though, right? Is you can apply it to so many things, everything, if you will.
Anything.
And that's I've been very lucky in my career to have that opportunity to get to try it in different avenues. But yeah, so origin story. I'm a Tar Heel. I went to UNC. I had all these plans starting undergrad. Um, I knew I liked psychology, but I ended up on a path of thinking, you know what, I'm going to go to medical school and I'm going to be an MD or a psychiatrist, and UNC has you pick a major outside of pre-med. So I was like, you know what? I also really like reading. So I'm going to be an English major and then do all the pre-med track. 2 years in, I realized, you know what? I don't think this is what actually is my path and what I was meant to do. But what am I going to do with an English degree? So I added a psychology degree with 2 years left to go and had to like speed through all of the psych courses. And one of the things a lot of my professors said to do before figuring out grad school was to do an internship. So I got a job the summer between my junior and senior year working for a group home, and it had so I was a direct support professional working with it was 5 teenage boys living in the house, and it was an incredible learning experience. But I also spent a lot of time thinking, there's so much I can do for these boys that I don't think I'm learning how to do in this position, and I want to learn how to do it. So I went on Google and searched for jobs working with individuals with autism or diagnosed with autism. And I found my future grad school advisor's website. And so I did some research and learned about behavior analysis. And I started reading bits and pieces. I signed up for the only behavior analytic course at UNC. It was canceled 3 days into the semester, my last semester,
Oh, no.
because there were only 4 people signed up and they needed 5 in order for it to happen. So
Oh.
I so I found 5 grad school programs. I applied with I knew there was a definition of reinforcement. I had read as much as I could find, but I had no classes that covered behavior analysis outside of like very basic psychology. And luckily, I got some interviews for a handful of universities. I will always be grateful that there were professors out there willing to take a risk on someone without a behavior analytic background in their training, and was luckily accepted at Western Michigan University. So, and I got to do grad school there. Of course, after I submit all my applications and I realized I was going to Western, I saw my aunt and I hadn't seen her in a while, and learned that she's a behavior analyst. So shout out to the other Dr. Lichtenberger behavior analyst out there. And my uncle
Wow.
actually got his certification while I was in grad school. So we are
Oh my
a
goodness.
family family of them, apparently.
Okay, stop. Sarah, I've known you years and I did not know this. This is what's so amazing about your podcast, Lisa.
I
Like,
mean,
I work next to Sarah and consider Sarah my friend, and I didn't know she was not the only behavior analyst in her family.
I know there's
Who got their
three.
certification first?
So my aunt, and then I'm second, and my uncle is third. But my aunt is like OG behavior analyst, like a I think 2001 certification. I might be misspeaking. I need to go search the BACB website. But yes, but
That
yeah,
is
wow.
amazing.
isn't that
Okay, so
wild? I know.
are family reunions super nerdy and do you talk about articles and behavior analysis or does the rest of your family say absolutely not, you guys do that on your own time?
That is such a good question. So they, my aunt and uncle are very kind. They've actually shown up for a couple of my presentations on Behavior Live. They have Behavior Live accounts, which is great. The only
Adorable.
three Lichtenbergers in the platform that I'm aware of. But yeah, no, we talk about behavior analysis. They run a company out in California, and yeah, we nerd out a little bit, but we control it. We keep it. You know, we don't want to bore the rest of the family, right?
I love it.
All right, so you
Yeah.
so you got your degree,
Yes.
and keep going with the story. I'm
Oh.
riveted. I want to hear the rest.
Okay, yeah, you're at
Well,
Western Michigan. What did you like about it? Like, what were you
oh,
learning, or what were you applying? How were you applying behavior analysis while you were there?
yeah. Well, I just got to learn some amazing professors at Western Michigan. I studied under Dr. Richard Malott, and yeah, shout out to him for being one of those professors willing to take a risk on someone without any behavior analytic background and being willing to teach me about behavior analysis, even though I didn't know much other than, again, the definition of reinforcement and that this seems to make sense. I want to learn more. But yeah, I think the really cool thing about being at Western is I got to not just learn about the clinical practice, but also got to spend a lot of time talking about organizational behavior management, looking at the different ways we could apply it. There was, um, people doing animal behavior, working in the humane society shelter, training dogs. So I got to just have really cool conversations with people really excited about the science. And because 2 years didn't feel like enough, as my friends were like, okay, where am I going to go to work? I said, no, I want to keep learning, and there's more stats classes in the world for me to take. So I'd like to stay here a little bit longer. I applied to the doctoral program and was lucky enough to get a spot and just got to continue learning for those 6 years. And it was so cool, very cold. I'm in Kalamazoo right now visiting my in-laws. And so it reminded me that very, very cold,
Mm.
but also a great place to learn and just build a community of behavior analysts, which was really cool.
And what were your first jobs, Sarah? Like when you got out of grad school, where did
Mm,
you like say, okay, here's what I want to do and take us on the path from clinical to the BACB
onward,
to
yeah.
Behavior Live? Like take us on those career shifts.
this this journey that I've been on.
Yes.
I I don't know if it's a problem. I get really excited to learn new things, and I always want to do new things. If there's a new opportunity or something that I don't know how to do, I want to learn it.
Mhm.
Which I think is also probably why I'm interested in behavior analysis, because there's so many applications and so much we can keep learning of things we can do with it. And so um, I when I graduated with my PhD, I knew that I was going to end up in a clinical job where I had to be really confident working with a variety of clients. And one area that I felt like I was missing was specifically working with clients with severe interfering or challenging behavior. I had an opportunity to learn a little bit about conducting functional analyses and did a practicum supporting individuals who engaged in those types of behaviors. But I didn't feel like I walked away saying, yep, I this is within my scope of competence, or and I was like, I want to learn more. So I applied for postdocs and was able to do one at the Kennedy Krieger Institute in their outpatient neurobehavioral outpatient unit. So I spent a year really just learning everything that I could learn, reading the most up-to-date research, learning from experts in the area. It was so cool because what it really did was help change me as a clinician to be able to hop into really stressful situations and be able to be calm, identify what does this caregiver need, what does this client need, how do I manage this really stressful situation, but be able to support people with it. And I got to learn from people too who came from really different backgrounds and training, and more of a focus in psychology. Outside of behavior analysis, and really got to learn how to have difficult conversations with parents, how to be really kind and compassionate in some of their most tough situations. But yeah, I'm so glad I did that. It was a really intense year, but also a really amazing year of learning, and really changed um, I think who I became as a practitioner versus walking straight out of grad school. Because I think I walked out of grad school knowing that I knew nothing. I think that was the moral of the story in getting my PhD, was like, I know absolutely nothing, and I need to just keep learning. There's so much more.
Preach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And so I did a postdoc for a year. Also got to live in Baltimore, which was amazing for a lot of other reasons. And then when I was applying to jobs, I was looking at clinical jobs. I got a job in Colorado, and my husband was really excited. He's been on this journey. We met in Kalamazoo. He's been on this journey with me, and he really wanted to move to Colorado. So that was part of the decider of where I took my first job after all of my learning opportunities. And so I worked there for a year and a half. At that about year and a half mark, I saw this random email from the BACB that said they were looking for, I think the original title was Education Behavior Analyst, to work in the ethics department. And I was like, well, that sounds cool and sounds fun. Like, I clinical work is fine. I knew I was going to be doing it for a while, but I think I've always been more interested in moving into organizational behavior management, and other areas in behavior analysis. And so I applied for the job and was very lucky to get to do that. And what was really cool about that is I got to get a really unique bird's eye view of what our profession looks like,
Mhm.
especially with how quickly we were growing and how hard it is to learn everything. And it's not possible to learn everything you need to know in a master's program. And then suddenly you're in charge of this caseload. And I really got a unique perspective on the fact that people are having to go and take on a large caseload, make a lot of ethical decisions, and aren't always aware when they're in a trap, or between a rock and a hard place, and um, maybe aren't making the best decision for their clients or for their supervisees or for themselves, because they haven't been set up for success. And so what I learned in that job was just I want to help people to be able to identify that we're at that risk, and how do we help people be able to function and make the choices that they need to make, when it comes to ethical decision making. I'm not saying this very well, so I apologize, but how can we
Doing it great.
support them when they're brand new, or if they've been practicing for a while and it's been a long time since they've been thinking about ethics, um, and just help to change the way that we think about ethics in general, instead of it being reactive, it being more proactive.
Mhm.
And I've been so lucky that along that path, I've been able to meet a lot of people who think that way and care about those things, and have helped shape me to think about things that way. Yeah. Um, and then after BACB, I surprised myself, went back to clinical work for a hot moment. But during that time, I was, for the Colorado Association for Behavior Analysis, I was planning the conference. And my lovely friend, Dr. Tyra Sellers, told me about this platform, Behavior Live, and how we should use it for COABA because they were using it for APBA. And I was a volunteer for APBA, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Um, and so Behavior Live came out to help out with COABA in 2023. And I heard that they might be looking for a part-time account manager at that time. And I was like, I just accepted a job, and it doesn't seem like the right time to be like, just kidding. I want to for this other job I kind of heard about. But then things happened so that I was able to reach out to Behavior Live and see if they'd be willing to take on a behavior analyst who also really likes event planning.
And oh, heck, yes, we were.
Oh,
Yes.
that is so amazing. And I love you really are highlighting how we are, you know, multifaceted, right? We have all of these interests and passions and things we're good at and finding, different ways to utilize those skills and those interests and passions in different ways and is really cool. And I think it's kind of like I don't know. I almost like giving permission to do that. Like,
Mhm.
yes, right? Like, look at Sarah. You were like, yeah, I want to do that. I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to go this way, and all of it leads to where you are today, and is just creates such a rich professional experience. And so I appreciate that you're sort of modeling that for all of us.
She really is. And I can start calling out stuff that I'll embarrass Sarah. So tough luck, Sarah. I wish everybody could
Oh no.
see your face as I start saying this because I know it's about to happen. But, one of the things that's so great about Sarah, so there are three BCBAs at Behavior Live, all three of them PhD level, which is, kind of funny. But there's Sarah, me, and my husband Kobe, who is obviously also a BCBA. But Sarah and I get to work alongside each other quite frequently. And the thing that's so amazing about Sarah is, she's in a role that's very client facing, right? So she meets a client at the very beginning and takes them throughout this whole journey of planning their conference, implementing the decisions they have to make, how to help them think about marketing. She just is there along this whole process, providing guidance and care. And, she's using her behavior analysis at every step of the way with that, right? And so that's so beautiful to see. But what people wouldn't know about Sarah is, she excels at all of that. And so she takes a system that can be quite chaotic. Like if anybody is an event planner, it's a lot. It's like herding cats. There's a lot of moving parts. And Sarah has taken it and from coming in like, okay, let's talk about, do we have good training material for people? And so Sarah is the kind of person who she uses her behavior analysis skills even within Behavior Live in her own job, that you know what, there are improvements, and her OBM hat comes on and her ethics hat is there all the time. And so she really does practice what she preaches, because I get to see that, and I get to see the benefit of our organization for having Sarah think about, how do we create this tool to help people learn the process within the Behavior Live platform? And, that education hat, Sarah, that you said you had, you do that so beautifully at Behavior Live. So, Lisa, you're right. Like when you talk about someone who really is saying, okay, behavior analysis is a science that applies to all human
Mhm.
behavior, Sarah's like such an insane example of taking that science and pushing it pushing's the wrong word, thinking about and implementing it in every single part of what she does at work and the decisions she makes. She's just such a beautiful example of an expert in behavior analysis that takes that. And keep in mind, on her email signature, she does not put her credentials at Behavior Live. Like, so when she interacts with someone, people don't know she's a PhD level behavior analyst. Like, she's just living her thing. And then, all of a sudden they're like, wait, you're Dr. Lichtenberger? Oh my gosh. So she's just such a good example of that humility, but also
Yeah.
using the science to impact for good. So thank you, Sarah.
I'm incredibly uncomfortable. And Nancy, but you're very kind. Thank you. You're both very kind.
I am one of those people. I did not know your background. Like I said before, I'm so excited that I get this opportunity to get to know you in a very different way. And I'm wondering, Sarah, given all of that, right? And here you are in the Behavior Live space. Um, and what do you love about what you're doing right now?
Oh, so many things. It's kind of I have this thought a lot because I really love what I get to do, but I think it's been the coolest cool, how lame. But it is the coolest application of behavior analysis that I've gotten to do to date because it's fitting it into a space where you might not necessarily think about fitting it immediately. But if behavior analysts are listening to this, so you're probably like, no, we fit behavior analysis everywhere. But I don't think when I was planning the conference for co-op, the first time I planned a conference, I don't think I was actively thinking about like, okay, here are the ways that this science that I love and has shaped me as a human, so and how I behave so much, it fits into how I'm planning this. But it's really cool to see how just event management can be improved using
Mm-hmm.
so much of what we do in behavior analysis, even if it's as little of thinking about like, okay, where are we putting those reinforcement contingencies for our planners who are really stressed out and they're not contacting a lot of reinforcement immediately. A lot of their reinforcers are very delayed, and
Mhm.
thinking about how that impacts their behavior and how they might interact with me because that's what are the conditions that are impacting their behavior. But it's been very cool. It's also really cool to work in an organization where people are letting me have those conversations and think about those things and spend time um, noodling on it as well. So that's also been very cool. And I also get to network with people too. So which is as a plus. Sorry for interrupting.
Yes, well, I told Janet when we met at the Babbitt conference, what a wonderful team you have at Behavior Live, and everyone I've met over the years have been just so personable and helpful, and it's really cool to see. And I have done a lot of event planning myself. I planned three bar mitzvahs and did a lot of planning of charity events for the past number of years. And so it's a lot of things.
You know.
A lot of so
Yes,
yeah, I know all that.
yes.
You know.
Yes, that goes into it, and I just so appreciate that behavior analytical lens on that process. And it's the
Right,
truth is you're working with people, so I mean we have to think about those things when we're, I guess, us behavior analysts think that way, right? That you have to think about those things when you're working with people and doing all the hard things, whether it's clinical or planning an event or whatever else it is. It's hard, and how you move through that, you know makes a difference. And so I really appreciate all of that work, for sure.
So, one thing I know about Sarah that she has not mentioned that I would love to ask her a question about is Sarah is also um, an expert in ethics. She mentioned that. She is a co author of an amazing book. Could you tell us a little bit about the book, Sarah, and how that, just tell us about the book, how you started in that, and where you are with it right now, and all the great things that are happening around your authorship as well?
well, thanks. I think the first thing I'll say is I don't feel like I'm an expert in ethics at all. I'm just lucky enough that I get to talk about it with people and think about it. But yeah, so I got the very wonderful opportunity to write a book with two of my previous supervisors, turned mentors, turned friends, which has been really lovely. So, Dr. Tyra Sellers and Emily Patrizzi were working on a book and asked me to join them. And so it's a, a book we tried to kind of shift the way that people think and talk about ethics to turn it into a daily practice. That's why it's called Daily Ethics. And really to help people build up their antecedent strategies, how often they're having conversations about ethics, spending time reflecting on past behavior, how was the concept taught to them, how they interacted with it, and really helping people shift from it being more of a reactive approach to, oh my gosh, I'm in an ethical dilemma, now I need to respond, to it being more of a, we should be thinking about it all the time because every decision we make, especially as a clinician, involves ethics, even though it might not be blaring at us loudly with flashing lights. There, every time we select an assessment for a client, every time we select the intervention we're going to use, anytime we have a conversation with a caregiver, there's ethics involved. And so it's trying to promote that thought pattern for people. And so we wrote it out actually, so it breaks down into a year, so 52 weeks, and each section covers is across 2 weeks with some breaks in between because we get that ethics is also stressful to think about, and hopping from thinking about your culturally responsive practices to what are requirements to self-reporting, into how do I handle building client and caregiver relationships responsibly and ethically might cause some heart palpitations and stress for people. So we also built in some fun things, like also a playlist and some of our preferred recipes, because we think ethics should be fun and paired with fun things because it can be so stressful. So yeah, so that's that came out in August of a year. Was it 2024? Yes, that sounds right.
And I will tell you, Sarah's a
Yes.
great baker. I have tasted some of her baking, and so you need to check out the book for the ethics portion, but know also that there are going to be some good recipes in there too.
Yes, we
That
each
is
got to pick up
amazing.
our favorites. Yes.
What is the title of the book so our listeners can find it?
Yes. It is Daily Ethics, Creating Intentional Practice for Behavior Analysts. And it's sold
I love it.
through ABA Technologies. People can find it through there. If they're an APBA member, I believe they get 10% off and the discounts in their member portal. It can also be found on Amazon as well. Yeah.
That is so
Thanks for letting
great.
me
And
shout that out.
yeah, I love how you are really bringing to the forefront the idea of ethical practice instead
Mm-hmm.
of ethical dilemmas. Like
Yeah.
we only want to think about ethics when we have a problem, right? When we have this dilemma of what to do. Then it becomes an ethics situation. But what you're bringing to light is like that's not it at all. That's the hard, what do I do? And oh my gosh, like you said, the flashing lights and everything. It's that everyday practice with intentionality, and thoughtfulness that is ethical practice of behavior analysis. It's not a just when there's a problem. So I really appreciate that view.
Yeah, I think it's really easy, and I think our profession is kind of stuck in this like black and white view of
Yeah.
ethics and that it's scary. And there's probably a lot of avoidant behavior with thinking and talking about it too, because it moves into this territory of, well, you're a good person if you do this and you're a bad person, when really that's not it. So the hope is that people can spend more time
Yeah.
really acknowledging that that's not how it is and that isn't how it should be.
Yes.
That shouldn't be how we're practicing. It's so gray and so difficult, and
It's
there's
so gray. I was just going to say it's so great. Behavior analysts don't like that, right? We
We
like
don't.
this. We don't like it. We like this black and
yeah,
white, very, clear kind of situation. And
Yeah, I want an
unfortunately,
operational definition.
of
Like, give me
course
that. Like,
yeah, we want the
we
day.
want
I mean,
that.
of course we do. And yet, life, behavior,
Oh,
people,
it's all
human
gray.
beings do not exist that way. We don't behave in that black and white. It is much more complex than that. And so it is that gray, and really getting comfortable in that space. It really
yeah.
is. It's fascinating. So tell us about what you're going to be talking about at the conference. It's fascinating and so timely in this place that I think we find ourselves in, of high burnout in our field and just exhaustion, and a lot of people leaving the field, and everyone should go to your talk and listen about how we can practice with humility and grace and self-compassion. And so tell us about what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, so I No surprise, it's related to ethics. A little bit of a one-trick pony over here.
No,
But
not true.
I think one thing that I continue to learn, but have also been lucky enough to have the opportunity to learn, is grace with myself and making mistakes that were not going to be perfect. And I think it's really easy to fall in this trap, especially when you talk about ethics in black and white of if I do something wrong, then I'm not a good behavior analyst. I'm a bad person. And that ball gets rolling and it's that negative self-talk is not great. And I what I'm hoping is to have and open a discussion related to the book. We actually talk about it in the book a little bit too, about how we can use self-reflection and engage in self-compassion to be able to promote our ethical decision-making skills and to support them. Um, because really, if we're functioning in an environment where we're scared to talk about ethics or we're scared to bring up mistakes that we've made,
Mhm.
um, even if they aren't at risk of violating our ethics requirements, just not being able to or feeling safe to share a mistake, that can be detrimental to a lot of things. And really making space to lean into that uncomfortable and just I hope to talk a little bit about how we can also, as leaders in organizations and as supervisors, model that for our trainees and supervisees. I think when I think about myself early on in my practice, anybody who knows me even a little bit knows I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So this this topic is very personal. I have definitely had moments in my career where I'm like, I reflect back on it and I'm really hard on myself. And instead of using that as a learning opportunity, it almost
Mhm.
becomes more punishment than anything. And
Hmm.
so just um, hoping to open the conversation about how we can show grace to ourselves and use that to promote our ethical behavior and build a culture where we can identify when mistakes occur and use them as a moment of growth instead of a moment of, nope, you really messed up and that's bad. And there may be moments where we mess up and we have to acknowledge it and take ownership, but that's the part that matters. And you can't, I feel like it's harder to do that if you're in a place of um, just spending time being upset with yourself or getting really stuck in that train of thought of I messed up, instead of, okay, yep, I messed up. What do I do next? And taking
Mhm.
that next step. But
And Sarah,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
think, I think you think this because we've kind of had conversations about it, but will you talk about like this idea of, because that's so beautiful what you just said, understanding that we're going to make mistakes and instead of using that to punish ourselves, and punish ourselves not in the official behavior analytic way, but like saying mean things to ourselves and, just really ruminating on things rather than
Yes.
saying, okay, let's use this as the opportunity to learn and decide where I might need to make change and that kind of stuff. But one of the things I think that's so amazing about you is that you and I'll have conversations as it relates to us at Behavior Live about, oh gosh, I don't love that I did that, right? And so Sarah and I will be pretty vulnerable with each other, and she models, and I think you create spaces, Sarah, for people that they can come to you and say, yeah, I just, that wasn't great. And, help me think through how to do that better. And are you going to talk a little bit about that, not only viewing it to ourselves, but also like how we create spaces with, even if it's not, I mean, it should be supervisees, but also with our peers, like creating those kind of spaces and how valuable that is. Is that going to be something you're going to talk to us about?
Yes, it's like you know me well. Yeah,
It's a privilege.
one thing that I hope that people also, yeah, get from the conversation we'll have is that as how can they set a space for people because we do have a responsibility as colleagues, as leaders, as supervisors to hold people accountable and ensuring they're engaging in ethical behavior and ethical practice, and also making a space where they can feel comfortable bring up mistakes or decisions that they made that maybe it wasn't the right decision in the moment, or asking for feedback on how can I approach this differently or what could I have done differently. And especially if it rises to the level of someone feeling like, hey, I think I violated an ethics standard. I think if someone doesn't feel comfortable coming to their supervisor to say, you know, hey Janet, I think I really messed up. What do I do next? Like that's a hard place to be in for that person. And I think we have a job to be able to be that person, especially in a supervisory relationship that someone can go to. So yes, I'm gonna hopefully that's a takeaway that people get from my presentation as well. Because
Well,
yeah,
you're an
I care
expert
about
at
that a
it,
lot.
and so I want you to talk about it because I know I see you do that, and I
Thank you.
benefit from being your colleague and friend that I get that space. So I hope that you'll be sort of helping all of us learn how we can be better, soft, safe spaces for people because, I think we all need a little bit of that now. I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing to do, and you do it very well.
You're very kind.
I appreciate you also talking about being a perfectionist, and I think a lot of us behavior analysts would put ourselves in that category,
Hmm.
right? And we want, the best outcomes, and we want to do all the right things all of the time. Yes, that's what makes us us, right? And we are human too. And so having that grace for ourselves and having that growth mindset that we have learned recently about, that I so wish I had that when I was growing up, of this idea that mistakes are good, that that's how you learn, that we need to have that growth mindset. Oh my gosh, that would have been really helpful to have been taught that as a kid, right? Because here we are as adults trying to learn that and unlearn, the other way of thinking of mistakes as being bad, and then we're bad, and that whole relations, that equivalences that happen, after that.
Hmm.
So I am thrilled to attend your Women Behaving Boldly talk, and to purchase your book and take a read through and share it with my students who are aspiring behavior analysts. And can you tell us again the title of your book, please?
Yes, it's Daily Ethics Creating Intentional Practice for Behavior Analysts. And Lisa, if you or any of your students, if you do end up reading it, please send any feedback our way of things that
Yes.
we can add to it. I would love to hear any feedback. And for anybody who listens to the podcast and purchases the book, we would love feedback on things that we can change and improve. And because really the goal of it is just to support behavior analysts. Because Lisa, as you said, like being human is hard. Being a
Yes.
professional is hard. We set these standards for ourselves, and really, it's just about leaning into it and supporting each other.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Absolutely. And the WIBA community is a perfect place, and
great.
to
Hmm.
for that community, and for supporting one another, and to reaching out to our colleagues. I do it all of the time, of hey, I have this case. I need some help. Let's think through this. And this happened, and I'm really nervous about it. And help me think through it, right? Help me think
Yes.
through it.
And
Yeah.
don't you guys think, at least my experience has been, when you're carrying a burden like that and you keep it to yourself, it just becomes this
Yes.
really cold, yuck place. And the moment
Hmm.
you speak it out and there's like
Yes.
light that gets shown on it and you're seen with just one other safe person,
Yes.
it's almost like the burden is lifted a little. It doesn't change the mistake, it doesn't change the fact, but just speaking it and having someone look at you and say, I see you and I'm still here with you. Like you're still
Hmm.
a good person. That was a behavior, that was a mistake. There's just almost this freedom in it, right?
Yes.
Like, I
Or it
just think
wasn't a
it's so
mistake, right? Or
right.
like you actually
Could
did the
be,
right,
yeah,
like I would have done the
right,
same thing. Like sometimes
yeah,
Yeah.
we're so hard on ourselves that we actually did the
true.
right thing, and it was a hard situation. So yeah, I think all of that, it's making me, my brain is going really fast just thinking about all of the pieces to that. And Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for being here and sharing. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
so good. Wait, we didn't ask my favorite question.
Go for
about
it.
what she would say to little Sarah. I don't think we
Yes.
asked that, did we?
We did
So I
not.
don't
We
know
did
the
not.
proper question.
You
She did a
alluded a
little.
little bit to it when you were sort of reflecting back, but if you could
Yeah.
give sort of one bit of advice to your younger behavior analyst self, what would it be?
Oh, so it's a great question because as I was thinking about what my answer was, I was like, I think that's where this presentation came from. Like, I think this, as I was noodling on, like, well, what do I want to say if I have this amazing opportunity to present at Women Behaving Boldly, which it's amazing. I could say more, but I I can't. But it was just, the mistakes are okay, and that's where the learning happens. And just um I wish I could go back and tell younger Sarah, like, you're gonna be able to build this community of humans, and particularly women, who are going to I apologize if I tear up a little bit as I say this, but are going to lift you up in ways that you are not even ready for. And you're going to get such cool opportunities, like being able to present at this conference. And I think even if I had told that to younger Sarah, she wouldn't have believed it and been like, what are you saying? You're lying to me. But I think the community that WIBA has built, and just the community of women in behavior analysis, has been so powerful for me. And the whole reason I've gotten to do all these cool things, and that my career has taken the path it has, is because I've been able to build this community, and particularly a community of humans who have cheered me on even when I make a mistake, or cheered me on for making a mistake and learning from it. And that's been really, really cool. Oh, sorry for tearing up. I do not
Amazing.
like
Do
sharing
not.
emotion like that, but
Oh my gosh.
here we are.
That's what we do here at Behind the ABA Talk
I I
podcast. I
love a good
mean,
emotion.
yeah, absolutely. It's so funny, Sarah, because I've had three children who've all been bar bat mitzvah, and I have a speech at their services, and I cry every time, like tears streaming down my face. I need the Kleenex, like it's ridiculous. And the rabbi at the first time was like, "Oh, Rabbi, I'm so sorry. I just keep crying." And he's like, "I will never forget this." He said, "Don't ever apologize for
Ever.
showing emotion. Like, don't ever apologize." And I was like, okay. It's like, became taller in that moment. Like, I am
Yes.
owning my tears then and my
Yes.
emotions,
Lean into it. No, I appreciate that advice. Yes.
Yeah.
We are fully human and fully
Yes.
bold and fully strong
Yes.
and fully smart
Yes.
and all the things. They can all
Yes.
coexist.
Well, I appreciate both of you for making a space where I can share that. And Lisa, thank you for letting me come on to your podcast and
Oh my
chat.
gosh,
And
yes.
Janet, to you, and Carrie Horner, who putting in all the work to put this together, and also the WIBA Advisory Committee. I am so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share at the
Oh,
conference. So
we couldn't
thank
be
you.
more excited. Thank you for saying yes to the invitation. Talk about a woman
Absolutely.
behaving boldly. My friend Dr. Sarah Lichtenberger is one of those in
Oh,
every part of
yes.
her life. So
Oh,
thank you for
yes.
sharing your knowledge
Very
and
kind.
wisdom with us, Sarah.
Well, you can hear more from Dr. Lichtenberger at her presentation at the Women Behaving Boldly conference on January 15th and 16th. A great way to start the new year with such inspiration, and hearing about cutting edge topics from women in behavior analysis. Janet, tell us the discount for our podcast listeners for the discount code for the conference.
Yes. So this is for this sweet community that is taking time to get to know our speakers and committing to just being a part of the community by listening. We're so happy that you spent this time with us today. And for that, we have a discount code when you register at Behavior Live. There'll be a section for you to input a discount code, and the discount code is podcast88. And that takes the price of these 22 speakers from $99 down to $88, which is
Incredible.
just such a steal. So it's a super secret
Unheard of.
code that we're not putting out anywhere else except if you spend time just sitting and being in community. So thanks for listening, everybody. We're just really grateful you spent this time with us and getting to know Sarah and our other speakers. Sarah, thank you for being a part of the WIBA community and sharing your amazing knowledge with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Janet, for being my amazing co-host here and these the special series of Behind the ABA Talk podcast.
I've loved it. Thanks for letting me.
And definitely don't miss this conference. It will be offered on demand as well. If you already have meetings scheduled that day, that's okay. If you can only, jump into one on one day and one on another, you will have access on demand, which is what makes Behavior Live such an amazing platform. You really don't have to miss anything. So definitely, I look forward to seeing you all there. Look forward to Dr. Lichtenberger's amazing presentation. And thank you very much. This has been a special podcast, a Behind the ABA Talk podcast. A special shout out to my podcast producer, Cole Asher Selznick. And we will see you next time.